The sound still haunts me, that flat, continuous beep from the hospital monitor. My mother-in-law, Patricia, just 73 years old, gone. The doctors said it was preventable. That's the part I can't shake. Completely preventable. I'm sharing this story because what happened to Patricia happens to thousands of seniors every year. A simple mistake before bedtime that turned fatal. Something that could happen to your parent, your grandparent, or even you if you're entering those golden years. 5. Nighttime mistakes, that's all it takes. 5 seemingly innocent habits that can become deadly after 70. I've spent the last year researching, interviewing doctors, and speaking with families who've been through similar tragedies. What I found shocked me. Patricia was always independent, stubborn even. "I don't need to change anything," she'd say whenever we brought up her health. "I've been doing things this way for decades." But that's exactly the problem. Our bodies change as we age. What was safe at 50 can become dangerous at 70. That night, she followed her usual routine. Nothing seemed different. She made her evening tea, watched her favorite game show, took her medications, and went to bed. But she made one critical error, the same error that nearly 40% of seniors make every single night. By morning, her brain had been deprived of oxygen for too long. The damage was irreversible. We never got to have another conversation, never got to say a proper goodbye, all because of a mistake that takes less than 5 minutes to fix. I don't want your family to go through what mine did. That's why I'm sharing these 5 deadly nighttime mistakes. Knowledge is power, and in this case, it could be the difference between life and death. The most frightening part? You probably don't even realize these mistakes are happening. They hide in plain sight, disguised as harmless habits or even healthy practices. That's what makes them so dangerous. I remember sitting in that sterile hospital room, holding Patricia's hand as the machines kept her body functioning. Her mind was already gone. The doctor spoke softly, explaining how her nighttime routine had created the perfect storm. "If only someone had known," he said, shaking his head. "If only someone had known." Those words echo in my mind daily. That's why I'm here now, sharing what I've learned the hard way. This isn't about fear-mongering. This is about saving lives. According to recent research from the National Institute on Aging, nearly 65% of adults over 70 are making at least one of these deadly nighttime mistakes. Most have no idea they're putting themselves at risk. Their children and grandchildren don't know either. Pay close attention to what I'm about to share. It might feel uncomfortable. It might even make you anxious. But I promise you, this information could save a life, maybe even yours, and make sure you stay until the end. The 5th mistake is one that nearly 80% of seniors make, yet almost no one talks about it. It's the one that took Patricia from us, and it's the one that's easiest to fix. Let's start with the first deadly mistake, one that turns bedtime into a dangerous gamble for anyone over 70. Deadly mistake number 1, taking medications at the wrong time of day. It was a Tuesday evening when Patricia took her blood pressure medication right before bed. She'd been doing it for years, thinking it was helping her sleep better. What she didn't know was that her new prescription had a warning: take in the morning, never at night. This isn't uncommon. A recent study published in the Journal of Geriatric Medicine showed that over 65% of seniors take at least one medication at the wrong time of day, and nearly 40% take blood pressure medications before sleeping. The consequences can be devastating. Here's what happens. Blood pressure naturally drops during sleep. When you add medication on top of that natural dip, it can plummet to dangerously low levels. Your brain doesn't get enough oxygen. Organ damage begins. And in severe cases like Patricia's, you simply don't wake up. Dr. Harrington, a geriatric specialist I interviewed, put it bluntly, Taking certain medications at night is like playing Russian roulette after age 70. Your body's regulatory systems are already less efficient. There's less room for error. I remember the pill organizer we found on Patricia's nightstand. Monday's compartment empty. Tuesday's, the night she passed, still contained her cholesterol medication but missing the blood pressure pill. She'd taken it, just as she always did, right before turning off the light. The solution is simple. Review every medication with your doctor or pharmacist, specifically asking about timing. Create a chart that clearly shows which medications should be taken in the morning, afternoon, and evening. And never, I repeat, never, change the timing unless directly instructed by your doctor. What haunts me? Conditions. These symptoms typically develop gradually, giving you a window of opportunity to intervene. A simple blood test can identify kidney problems. An echocardiogram can detect heart abnormalities. Standard tests that could have given Patricia many more years. I often wonder how different things could have been if just one of us had recognized the significance of those increased bathroom trips. If we had pushed past her dismissive, "It's just aging" remarks and insisted on a thorough checkup. Don't make our mistake. Don't ignore the warnings your body is giving you in the quiet of the night. Deadly mistake number 3. Sleeping in the wrong position after age 70. I've always been a stomach sleeper, Patricia would say proudly, as if it were an accomplishment. I never thought to question it. Why would I? Sleep position seems like a personal preference, not a matter of life and death. I was wrong. 2 weeks before she passed, I stayed overnight at her house. I remember walking past her bedroom and noticing her asleep on her stomach, face partially buried in the pillow. I kept walking. That image now haunts me. Dr. Lawrence Kim, a sleep specialist focusing on elderly patients, explained the devastating truth. After 70, stomach sleeping can restrict breathing and reduce oxygen levels. Combined with other conditions like sleep apnea or heart issues, it can create the perfect storm for nocturnal cardiac events or respiratory failure. Stomach sleeping puts pressure on the chest, restricting lung expansion. It forces the neck into an unnatural position, potentially narrowing airways. And for seniors whose respiratory systems are already less efficient, this can be catastrophic. The autopsy revealed that Patricia had undiagnosed moderate sleep apnea. On her stomach, with her face partially in the pillow, her body was fighting for oxygen all night long. The night she died, her heart, already weakened from undiagnosed heart failure, simply couldn't compensate anymore. A recent study in the European Respiratory Journal found that stomach sleeping after 70 can reduce oxygen saturation by up to 7% compared to side or back sleeping. That might not sound like much, but for someone with existing cardiovascular issues, it can be the difference between life and death. Patricia's sleep position wasn't just uncomfortable, it was slowly killing her. Each night, her oxygen levels would drop, forcing her heart to work harder. This created a vicious cycle. Poorer sleep led to increased inflammation, which worsened her heart condition, which further compromised her breathing during sleep. What's particularly tragic is how simple the solution is. Sleeping on your back or side after 70 can dramatically reduce these risks. For those who struggle to change sleep positions, there are specialized pillows designed to prevent rolling onto the stomach during sleep. When I shared this information with Patricia's friends, many in their 70s and 80s, 5 of them admitted to being stomach sleepers. Not one had ever been warned about the dangers. Their doctors had never mentioned it. Their children didn't know to be concerned. I've since learned that nearly 30% of seniors are stomach sleepers, and most have no idea of the danger they're putting themselves in night after night. No doctor had ever mentioned sleep position during Patricia's checkups. It wasn't on any health checklist we found in her files. The risk increases with age. What might be perfectly safe at 50 or 60 becomes increasingly dangerous as we approach and pass 70. Our bodies change, becoming less resilient, less able to compensate for restricted breathing or poor circulation during sleep. Dr. Marina Kovalev, a pulmonologist who reviewed Patricia's case, put it this way: the combination of age-related changes to the respiratory system, undiagnosed sleep apnea, and stomach sleeping created a situation where her body simply couldn't get enough oxygen during deep sleep cycles. It's tragically common and almost entirely preventable. For those caring for elderly parents or grandparents, check on their sleep position. Have a gentle conversation about the risks of stomach sleeping. It might feel intrusive, but it could save their life. I wish someone had told me this before. I wish I had known to say something that night when I saw Patricia sleeping on her stomach. A simple conversation might have given us years more together. Instead, I'm left sharing this warning with you, hoping you won't make the same mistake. Check on your loved ones. Talk about safe sleep positions. Don't assume that something as seemingly insignificant as how someone sleeps couldn't possibly be dangerous. Because sometimes the deadliest mistakes are the ones that seem most innocent, is how easily this could have been prevented. A 5-minute conversation with her pharmacist. That's all it would have taken, and it's not just blood pressure medications. Sleep aids, pain relievers, diabetes medications, they all have optimal times for taking them. The wrong timing doesn't just reduce effectiveness, it can be fatal. Patricia's doctor later told us that her blood pressure medication should never have been taken at night. It was designed to work during daytime activities. By taking it before sleep, when her blood pressure naturally declined, she created a perfect storm in her cardiovascular system. The day after her funeral, I went through her medicine cabinet. 6 different prescription bottles. 4 had specific timing instructions that she wasn't following. She'd created her own system based on convenience, not medical guidance. Dr. Williamson from Harvard Medical School explained that the elderly metabolize medications differently. What worked at 50 can be dangerous at 70, she told me. The liver processes drugs more slowly, the kidneys filter them less efficiently, and the brain becomes more sensitive to their effects. Have you checked when you should be taking your medications? Or if you're caring for an elderly parent or grandparent, have you reviewed their medication schedule? This simple act could save a life. I wish I could go back and have that conversation with Patricia. I wish I had noticed the pattern and spoken up. But I can't change the past. I can only hope that by sharing this, I might prevent another family from experiencing our loss. The second deadly mistake is just as common but far less discussed. And tragically, it's one that Patricia was also making in those final weeks. Deadly. Mistake number 2. Ignoring changes in nighttime urination patterns. It's just part of getting older, Patricia would say dismissively whenever we expressed concern about her getting up 4, sometimes 5 times a night to use the bathroom. We didn't push the issue. After all, increased urination at night is common with age, right? What we didn't realize was that this dramatic change from her usual once-per-night routine was a glaring warning sign. It wasn't normal aging. It was a symptom. Dr. Melissa Chen, a urologist specializing in geriatric care, explained it to me after it was too late. Sudden changes in nighttime urination, especially after 70, should never be dismissed. It can indicate heart failure, kidney dysfunction, or undiagnosed diabetes, all potentially fatal conditions. In Patricia's case, the autopsy revealed early-stage heart failure. Her heart wasn't pumping efficiently during the day, causing fluid to build up in her legs and feet. When she lay down at night, that fluid would re-enter her bloodstream, forcing her kidneys to produce more urine. It was her body's desperate warning signal, and we all missed it. The night she passed away, her bathroom light switched on and off, 4 times according to the smart home system. Each trip increased her risk of falling, another serious danger, but it was the underlying condition that ultimately took her life. What makes this mistake particularly insidious is how easily it's dismissed. We attribute it to aging, to drinking too much water, to medications, anything but what it often really is, a medical emergency in slow motion. I remember Patricia's ankles, how they'd swell by evening, especially after she'd been on her feet all day. She'd prop them up on a footstool, joke about her elephant ankles, and we'd all laugh. We didn't know those swollen ankles were connected to her nighttime bathroom trips. We didn't know they were both warning signs of her failing heart. According to the American Heart Association, over 6.2 million Americans have heart failure. And the risk increases dramatically after 70. Nearly half of those diagnosed will die within 5 years if the condition isn't properly treated. Yet the early symptoms, like increased nighttime urination, are frequently dismissed. Dr. Robert Kessler, a cardiologist I consulted during my research, said something that stopped me cold. If we caught these symptoms early, we could add years, even decades, to many seniors' lives. But families often miss the connection between bathroom trips and heart health. If you or someone you love has experienced a significant change in nighttime bathroom habits, don't wait. Make a doctor's appointment immediately. Request specific testing for heart and kidney function. It could save a life. I remember Patricia joking about installing a bathroom in her bedroom to save the journey. We laughed. We should have listened. The pattern is typically obvious in hindsight: increased fatigue during the day, swollen ankles by evening, and multiple nighttime bathroom trips. Classic signs of heart failure that, if caught early, can be treated effectively. But there's good news here too. Unlike some,